In the complex theater of international relations, not everything is as it appears. A particularly dark and deceptive tactic used by nations and groups throughout history is the false flag operation. Imagine a pirate ship flying the flag of a peaceful nation to get close to its target before raising its own skull and crossbones to attack. This is the essence of a false flag, a covert act designed to look like it was carried out by someone else. The primary goal is to deceive the public, create a powerful enemy image, and manipulate emotions to justify a pre-planned response, which is often war. It is a strategy rooted in pure deception, a political sleight of hand played for the highest stakes on the world stage. The mechanics of such an operation are meticulously planned to achieve maximum impact. The perpetrators carefully select a target and an entity to blame, crafting the event to align perfectly with the desired narrative. This could involve using the enemy's known weapons, leaving behind fabricated evidence, or timing the attack to coincide with rising tensions. The immediate aftermath is just as crucial, as propaganda and media campaigns are launched to solidify the false narrative in the public consciousness. By controlling the story from the very beginning, the architects of the false flag aim to cut off any serious questioning and build overwhelming support for retaliation against the party they have framed, making dissent seem unpatriotic or naive. This manipulation preys on our most basic instincts: fear, anger, and the desire for justice. When people believe their nation has been attacked unjustly, they are far more likely to rally behind their leaders and support military action. A successful false flag operation effectively manufactures a casus belli, a Latin term meaning a just cause for war. It transforms a calculated act of aggression into what appears to be a necessary act of self-defense. This psychological manipulation is the true power of the tactic, as it can turn a population that is hesitant about conflict into one that is demanding it, all based on a carefully constructed lie that serves a hidden agenda. Understanding this concept is more critical today than ever before, especially given the speed at which information and misinformation can travel around the globe. In an era of deep political polarization and low trust in institutions, the potential for a false flag to ignite a major conflict is dangerously high. It compels us to look beyond the headlines and ask difficult questions about the events that shape our world. We must consider who benefits from a particular crisis and whether the official story holds up to scrutiny. Recognizing the pattern of a false flag is the first step toward preventing the catastrophic consequences that can follow when deception is used to lead nations into war. History provides us with stark and chilling examples of how false flag operations have been used to alter the course of nations. One of the most infamous cases is the Reichstag fire in 1933. Just weeks after Adolf Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany, the German parliament building was set ablaze. The Nazi regime immediately blamed the communists, using the incident as a pretext to pass the Reichstag fire decree. This emergency law suspended civil liberties, allowed for the mass arrest of political opponents, and effectively dismantled German democracy. While there is still historical debate, many scholars argue the Nazis were complicit in the fire, using it as a manufactured crisis to consolidate their totalitarian power with terrifying speed and efficiency. Across the Atlantic, even the United States has contemplated such deceptive strategies. The declassified Project Northwoods documents from 1962 reveal a truly shocking proposal. At the height of the Cold War, the United States Joint Chiefs of Staff presented a plan to the Kennedy administration to stage a series of violent attacks and blame them on Fidel Castro's Cuba. The proposal included sinking an American ship in Guantanamo Bay, orchestrating terrorist attacks in United States cities, and even shooting down a civilian airliner. The goal was to create a wave of public outrage that would provide the justification for a full-scale military invasion of Cuba. Thankfully, President John F. Kennedy rejected this dangerous plan, but its existence serves as a powerful reminder of how far some are willing to go. These historical precedents are not just academic footnotes, they are cautionary tales that resonate deeply in our current geopolitical landscape. They demonstrate a clear and repeatable pattern. A shocking event occurs, a convenient enemy is immediately blamed without thorough investigation, and the incident is used to justify a pre-desired political or military objective. The playbook is remarkably consistent, whether the goal is to seize domestic power, as with the Reichstag fire, or to launch a foreign war, as envisioned in Project Northwoods. These events show that governments are capable of deceiving their own citizens on a massive scale to achieve their hidden aims. Learning from these past deceptions is crucial for navigating the present. They teach us to be skeptical of narratives that seem too simple or too perfectly aligned with a particular political agenda, especially in the chaotic aftermath of a crisis. When calls for war are loudest, it is precisely the time to demand the most evidence and exercise the greatest caution. The ghosts of the Reichstag and the chilling plans of Project Northwoods warn us that the first casualty of war is often the truth, and sometimes that truth is deliberately sacrificed before the first shot is even fired. This historical context is essential for critically evaluating the claims we hear today. Fast forward to today, and we find ourselves in an environment ripe with similar dangers. The geopolitical landscape is fraught with tension, particularly between the West and nations like Russia and Iran. Against this backdrop, analysts like Martin Armstrong have raised alarms about the potential for modern false flag operations designed to trigger a direct military confrontation. As of June 2025, specific warnings have emerged, alleging that certain factions within Western governments may be contemplating staged events. One such claim suggests a plan to sink an American naval vessel and immediately assign blame to Russia, creating an incident that would demand a powerful military response and escalate the ongoing friction into open warfare. Similarly, the Middle East remains a volatile flashpoint where such a strategy could be deployed against Iran. According to these same sources, there are concerns that a provocative act could be orchestrated in the region, perhaps an attack on oil infrastructure or a strike on an allied target, and carefully framed to point directly at Tehran. The objective would be to portray Iran as an irrational and aggressive actor, thereby justifying military action that has long been advocated for by certain political circles. This type of event would be designed to bypass diplomatic channels and push the international community toward a conflict that would have devastating consequences for regional stability and the global economy. The purpose of such elaborate deceptions is to manufacture consent for war among a public that might otherwise be hesitant. In a democracy, initiating a major conflict without broad popular support is politically difficult. A false flag operation is a cynical shortcut designed to create an emotional and seemingly undeniable reason for war. By presenting a shocking and clear-cut case of enemy aggression, it aims to unify the population behind a military response and silence dissenting voices. The strategy relies on the idea that in the face of an apparent attack, people will rally around the flag and trust their leaders, asking questions only much later, if at all. These allegations, whether they are ultimately proven true or not, highlight a severe risk in our current international climate. The intense rivalry between global powers, combined with the sophisticated tools of modern information warfare, creates a fertile ground for deception. The danger is that a fabricated event could spiral out of control, leading to a direct conflict between nuclear-armed states. The potential for miscalculation is enormous. If such a plan were to succeed, it could ignite a regional or even global war based entirely on a lie, leading to a catastrophic loss of life and destabilizing the entire world order for generations to come. Behind many of these aggressive foreign policy proposals, one can often find the influence of neoconservative ideology. This political philosophy, which gained significant prominence in the United States, generally advocates for a proactive and interventionist foreign policy, using America's military and economic power to promote democracy and national interests abroad. A key tenet of some neoconservative thinking is the belief that decisive and sometimes preemptive military action is necessary to deal with hostile regimes or threats. This worldview can, in its more extreme forms, create a justification for using whatever means are necessary, including deception, to achieve what is seen as a greater strategic good. The connection to false flag strategies becomes clearer when we examine this ideological framework. If one believes that a particular regime, like that in Iran or Russia, poses an existential threat that must be neutralized, then waiting for a direct provocation may seem too passive and risky. In this mindset, manufacturing a crisis through a false flag operation could be rationalized as a necessary evil, a way to jumpstart a conflict that is deemed inevitable and essential for national security. Project Northwoods, for example, was born from a similar logic, that the threat from Castro's Cuba was so great that a fabricated pretext for invasion was a justifiable option to protect American interests. The immense danger of this approach cannot be overstated. when a small, unelected group of ideological advocates is in a position to potentially trigger a war through deceit, the fundamental principles of democratic accountability are destroyed. Wars started on false pretenses erode public trust in government, media, and military institutions for decades. The consequences extend far beyond the battlefield, leading to immense financial costs, geopolitical instability, humanitarian crises, and the tragic loss of countless lives, both military and civilian. A conflict with a major power like Russia or Iran, ignited by a lie, could quickly escalate into a global catastrophe with unimaginable consequences for all of humanity. Therefore, it is imperative for citizens in a free society to remain vigilant and critically engaged. We must question the narratives presented to us, especially when they seem to be leading us down the path to war. It is crucial to demand evidence, scrutinize the motives of those beating the war drums, and recall the painful lessons of history. Understanding the concept of a false flag and the ideological currents that might promote it is not about embracing conspiracy theories. It is about practicing responsible citizenship. It is about ensuring that the most monumental decision a nation can make, the decision to go to war, is based on truth and transparency, not on a dark and dangerous deception.